variable called effective number of parties, which measures the number of parties which are fighting in terms of contesting. India specific, yes ma'am, at the state level. And then that measure is measured in terms of the number of seats they win and also in terms of the number of votes they win. So those are the, that's the hope, yes. I will also be, because endogeneity is the first thing my committee will throw in my face when I present this. So that's most certainly an issue.
Yeah, yes sir. No, I'm just trying to open up this PPP, public-private partnerships. We are defining in each way. I will call it owners, management, users, or service providers. Those three people come together because basically society issues, now elections or whatever is it, owners, the public put representatives. The management wants to hold on. They don't want to let go because they are enjoying some powers. We change the constitution, we put the representative, we make models which keep changing it. Like World Bank man is saying we'll have legislation because there is no precedented thing like that. Okay, this is a broad thing which I want to share. One more question actually. On the traditional 4 factors of production were there, now government and management has become one more factor. In fact, I would say, I mean, I don't know what is the latest economics about it. Like land, labor, capital, entrepreneur was there. Now there are so many, 4 more, like it's intermingling also. Like machinery is there and outsourcing kind of things happening there. I mean, I'm talking in broad terms. I don't know how far is that.
Okay. You have a question?
Yes.
Okay. Your point is fine.
Sir,
I mean, I think governance is, one can say, one more factor.
Sir, in your introductory remarks, you referred to the ups and downs of the Yamuna Expressway. I want to know what is the logic of the state government giving Reliance an opportunity to set up a parallel expressway from Delhi to Agra.
Sorry, I'm not sure that is Reliance doing a parallel expressway Delhi to Agra.
They have been given an opportunity. It's there in the paper. In the recent past, it appeared in the paper that Reliance has been given an opportunity to build a road, a parallel expressway.
Okay.
I'll bring
that's news to me. That's news.
I'll get it tomorrow in case.
Though there are issues of, if what you're raising is probably issues of competition.
Yeah.
Because I think issues of competition is very fundamental to the whole idea of, you know, do you want to protect something for the promoter? And again, in India, we have varying philosophies. I can give you the example of, in airports, our contracts say that within 150 kilometers, if another airport comes, then the original promoter gets the first right of refusal as long as they bid and their bid is within 10% of the best bid. Then they are allowed to match the bid and first right of refusal. But take the example of ports. In ports, if I have, for a particular commodity, if I have one terminal to a private party, for the same commodity, if I am doing a second terminal, the first party shall not bid because I want competition. In roads, if I am not mistaken, National Highways has an 8-kilometer bar. Within 8 kilometers, they will not have another PPP of an existing road. But Yamuna Expressway is a UP government-driven project. I am not sure if something has happened with Reliance. But the issue of competition is very important. And the framework we have on competition, I think, is, do we want to promote competition or do we want to protect the promoter? And, we seem to have both views.
So one of the things which they mentioned is the toll rate on the Yamuna Expressway is pretty high. Yeah. And that's why they've allotted this thing.
That's why?
That is why they have assigned Reliance an opportunity to build the road, parallel road. But are you aware of these parallel roads anywhere else? Are parallel roadways prevailing in other countries?
I am not sure if there are examples in other countries where 2 PPP projects, the roads are sort of parallel. Not. Though in the United States, the law is that if you have a tolled road, there must be a toll-free road, which is a reasonable alternative. In other words, they are actually giving a zero-cost competition to a tolled road. So which means the tolled road had better be so good that it will attract traffic on it. You know, that's the logic there.
Sir, I have a question to Professor Suresh. The kind of paper presented on the control system framework, yeah, definitely you have brought out some of the points. But the delays in the PPP model and the projects, which was the major criteria, and the sensitivity to overcome these delays, the answer you have provided through the management model is only by economic loss. Don't you feel now this economic loss is not known to the so-called public as well as the private or the stakeholders per se? Do you feel that only by seeing the numbers, the sensitivity comes and stimulation and the action goes off? Is that is the kind of a system with which in this democratic government and then the PPP models there are success stories? I just want your comments.
Yeah, you know, what I have tried to say is, when you talk about delays, we talk about in terms of numbers, in terms of days or weeks. When you translate that into money, monetary terms, I think it opens up people's eyes. Everyone knows there is delay, but yet no action is being taken. See, my paper is not only on the monetary terms. There's another very important aspect is the transparency. You express that in monetary terms and also put it up on the site. Everyone comes to know. See, I'll take you a simple example. In our cooperative societies, if one person doesn't pay the monthly charges, you know, they don't bother about it. But once you put it up on the notice board, then it's the hurt on your pride. And then people start doing it. So here what we are trying to say is, the contribution of each project to the national laws is available to everyone, number one. Once that is put up, I think people will start acting better. It's a hope. You see, you may not eliminate 100% delays, but generally, behaviorally, you will alter behavioral patterns. Look at a contract between a contractor and the PPP. Why do you have liquidated damages? The moment you have liquidated damages, the contractor will ensure that he does it in time. So similarly, at the government and at the bank and all the officials, if they know that they are contributing to the economic loss, they will alter their behavioral patterns. This is the assumption. And this is the fundamental premise on which management control systems are based.
Sir, I just beg to pardon. Most of the government revenue, whether direct tax and indirect tax, whether you and me as a taxpayers, maybe if we are defaulters, they are very much on the public domain and the public side. But how much we are sensitive, whether it is celebrities, politicians, or anybody in this society. Second thing, as you rightly made, liquidate damages. These are the mechanisms we have to reinforce, and the modeling has to be reinforced to structure in such a way that the sensitivity comes to regulate the project delays. This is what is my comment.
So I also have put in some incentives there. I think even in the government, people should get incentives, whether it's financial or non-financial, if they expedite and get the land clearances fast. So that's on a positive side. But on the negative side, what can you do? I mean, that's up to the government. I'm not suggesting anything radical in terms of someone being asked to leave or things like that. But on the positive side, positive motivations certainly have to be there.
Yeah, here, please. Last one. Good afternoon. Yeah. Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I have a question to Professor Suresh and a small comment on Varun's research. The question is that amongst the various factors behind delay that you have enumerated, and of course I very much agree that if you look at delay in terms of the economic losses that it is creating to the nation, it is a correct framework. But one major reason for delay is the disputes which very frequently between the private and the public agencies. So what do you think of that phenomena, these two agencies getting into disputes, and what could be a good dispute resolution mechanism to prevent these kind of delays? And my comment on Varun's research is that this is of course a very relevant theme, because while we all have a sense of this, the political context of PPP projects and the negative connotations, no one has actually taken up a formal research in this area. But what I still feel is that the themes, the hypotheses that you have chosen, they are somehow they are not really getting into the meat of this whole issue. For example, whether during an election year, whether there are more PPPs or less PPPs, it is just a piece of statistical trivia. It could be more, it could be less, but how does it advance the knowledge, or how does it kind of tell you anything more? But if I were to research this, if I, for instance, quit the government and become a research scholar and research this, my research would have been that in the PPPs which are entered during an election year, are the terms of the concession agreement distorted? Are the terms designed in such a way that in an underhand way, they favor someone more, or they kind of try to restrict competition? Only some parties are eligible to apply. And we know anecdotally that these kind of things do happen. Similarly, when you are saying that if the political space is very contested, if the contestability is high, maybe PPPs will be more, but the anecdotal evidence, and I'm sure it can be shown statistically also, is that number of PPPs come down actually, because what happens is that there are different parts of PPP project which are always open to questioning and criticism, particularly the state support which you provide to a PPP. Normally every PPP project is supported either by foregoing some revenue, like I permit you to take the toll which the government would have got, or by giving you some piece of land for commercial exploitation to bundle with your investment, or some kind of viability grants are given to you, viability gap funding grants are given. So some kind of benefits are given by the state as a part of the state support. Now all this is always open to criticism and question. For instance, why did you give 5,000 acres to an airport developer? Why not 2,000 acres? So if the contestability is more, people tend to reduce PPP projects because anything can be questioned, distorted and challenged.
Thank you so
Let
much
him
for...
finish his answer. Yeah. Why don't you finish your answer?
Okay, yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for the comment. That was excellent ideas. I actually wrote all of them down. The one thing I did want to say is that I think that my project's policy contributions in terms of the fact that I think that it is often lost that we need to keep the political context in mind when we are designing these projects. I think that this is somewhat akin to what Mr. Sobek said in his presentation earlier, in that projects should be very context specific. And my point is simply that I think we should keep the politics in mind as well. And the other thing, I think the next step after my project is to look at what are the potential institutional solutions or reforms that can be brought to bear to de-link pressures of politics from sound PPP policymaking. And something that Professor Raghuram said was the model code of conduct, which actually cuts off, 4 months ahead, where after that you can no longer announce new projects. I think that there may be innovative solutions where we can mess with the timing and see if that has an effect. But that's where the election timing thing comes into. But thank you so much. Those were wonderful comments.
Except things could just be happening 4 months before.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I want Mr. Dharmesh to throw a little more light about the role of media and getting connected, that community getting connected with the PPP projects. Because I am a community health promoter, so I deal with communities and kind of interact and do my research in communities. So is it like what you are mentioning, if I understand through your small brief talk, is this something called as public-private community partnership, which is what the change of terminology is nowadays used, or rather debated? So I would like you to please throw a little more light.
You got the point. Basically, community participation, media, because we have expanded now, the community radio also has come. The basic objective of community radio is to go to villages and far-flung places where traditional media as such television is not reaching, or because of so many constraints, electricity is not there and access is not there. So community radio is the first instance which has been given by the Government of India, Ministry of Wireless Planning and Coordination, which gives a basic platform to the community to register, to participate, and enlighten the complete arena about what's happening around that particular place, and then contribute to a major platform where it can become like flowing rivers into one big ocean, and that can become a big data bank, and that can be, it can be seen by a lot of people around, and then they can participate, and then they can learn also and exchange information. Also, it can also serve as a guiding force to a lot of people who want to do research or who want to diversify so many things from it.
The question is to Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me whether this PPP is encouraging vote bank politics or vote bank politics is encouraging PPP or vice versa.
Just the answer. See, actually, I have not covered dispute resolution as part of this paper. That's a separate topic by itself. I have purely gone by the percentage of delays as per that McKinsey report, what is contributing to. So it is done on sort of an ABC analysis and concentrated on 3-4 items. But I agree with you, there are a lot of projects which are under dispute resolution. But in terms of economic loss, what has been, what we are garner is that it is not as much as compared to say land acquisition and
A couple of minutes to wrap up. So of course, we're talking about politics. I just thought another interesting example where politics spurred action. Because when we're talking of delays, GMR, which has the 500 odd, or got the bid for a 500, the first longest road project in India, 500 kilometer plus from Ahmedabad to Kishangarh. In December 2012, the clearances from the government, which they are supposed to provide, were not yet coming, and it had already got delayed by a few months. So using the technicality that government had not fulfilled its contract, they issued a notice they are walking out of the project. Within 2 weeks, the clearances came. And then, of course, government has been after GMR to come back to the project. Of course, GMR has been using the opportunity to try to seek some changes in the overall contractual framework. And a lot of debate is going on in the country. But I'm just saying that's one example of spurring action. The other one, I think, is Mayawati. Tremendous cleverness for the Yamuna Expressway in one of the township land acquisition. Part of the farmers were willing to give the land at the price that was announced, as per the government formula and all that. The remaining were not willing to. They wanted a higher price. She simply turned around and said, I cancel the project. And that was a master stroke, because those who were willing to give up the land at a certain price, they suddenly became the stakeholders and the pressure points on those who were not willing to give up the land, and the matter got resolved amongst themselves. And finally, everybody said, we are happy to give up the land at that price. So it's interesting how, politics can, people who have a good grassroots sense in these kind of projects actually can, help in many ways. So, yeah, so I think we had a lot of discussion on politics and the external aspects of PPPs, probably not so much on the internal governance aspects of PPPs, though broadly, I would say that in my judgment, broadly, internal governance, if I apply the question, how would internal governance have been had it been in the public domain versus governance driven by the private domain? My broad answer is that the private domain is much better off than in the public domain. And in fact, to me, more than monetary additionality, the primary driver that we want from private sector is the fact that they bring greater intra-project governance, greater managerial efficiency, greater entrepreneurship, which, government is not meant to do all that. Forget about asking whether government has, is doing it well or not. I think government is not even supposed to be doing that. And that's where I like, to end on the same note that Mr. David Palchik said in the previous session, that in PPPs, private sector can do only with public sector, while public sector cannot do. And I thought that was very nice, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Manish to give a memento to Professor Raghuram.